Anneliese Michel was born in 1952. Her parents, Joseph and Anna, raised her and her 3 sisters in Leibelfing, Germany. They were a close Catholic family and went to Mass twice a week. Anneliese's childhood was a good one. Good grades, lots of friends, and she never got into trouble. She was a parent's dream. Then something happened that would change her life forever. When she was 16, she had a seizure at school. A friend found her in a strange trance-like state and called for help. She said it felt like she was paralyzed and something was pushing down on her. 1 year later, she had another one while she was praying. Again, she was found in a trance-like state, but this time her arms were reaching out and her eyes were so dilated they were completely black. Her family took her to a neurologist and she was diagnosed with temporal lobe epilepsy. As time went on, her condition got worse. In 1970, she began seeing things. Scary things. She claimed she saw the devil's face everywhere. In the shadows, in reflections, even in the faces of people. The Michel family took Anneliese to stay at a psychiatric hospital to be observed by professionals. They prescribed a lot of different medications, but nothing helped. Then Anneliese started hearing demonic voices while she prayed. Sometimes they whispered, sometimes they screamed at her. The voices told her they were going to drag her down to hell. Eventually, the voices began tormenting her non-stop. Just before she left the hospital, she had another seizure. This one left her with a strange side effect. Her face would twist and grimace uncontrollably. After years of living with this, Anneliese became extremely depressed. She became quick to anger too. Slowly, she stopped talking to her friends one by one, making herself more and more isolated. Anneliese began talking about something controlling her and not letting her feel things like love or happiness anymore. She became convinced she was damned and the end of the world was coming soon. In 1973, Anneliese went on a pilgrimage trip to Italy. Her and a friend were going to visit a religious shrine, but when they arrived, she wouldn't go near it. She said the closer she got, the more her skin burned. The ground itself even felt too hot to stand on. Anneliese said she couldn't even look at it. It shined so bright it was blinding her. When Anneliese got home, she got even worse. At a family dinner, she tried to eat but couldn't keep anything down. She said the demons wouldn't let her. This went on for days and then weeks until one day they found her eating dead spiders and bugs. She was also seen licking her own urine off the floor and swallowing coals from the fireplace. Anneliese wasn't able to sleep for more than a couple hours. Day and night she would run through the house screaming prayers. She would kneel over and over all day until her knees became bruised and swollen. Eventually, she started destroying every religious item in the house. Her family watched helplessly as every moment of Anneliese's life became misery and pain. She had been through 5 years of seizures, hospital stays, doctor visits, dozens of medications, and horrific visions and voices in her head. Now she was wasting away. The young girl in front of them was nothing like the Anneliese they knew, and they wanted her back. The doctors weren't helping and the medications weren't working. Her parents were desperate, so Joseph and Anna turned to the church for help. Initially, the church recommended that the Michels continue medical treatments, but the family persisted and eventually convinced Father Ernst Alt to come see Anneliese. During his visit, he found that Anneliese showed many signs of demonic possession. However, even after months of meetings with Anneliese, Father Alt was still skeptical, so he devised a secret test. He filled 5 identical bottles, some with tap water and some with holy water. When he used the tap water, nothing. Anneliese had no reaction. When he used the holy water, she became violent and screamed in pain. She said it felt like fire. Father Alt took these findings back to the church. He wrote a letter to Bishop Joseph Stangl and requested permission to perform an exorcism. The request was granted, and the bishop sent Father Arnold Renz to assist Father Alt. On September 24, 1975, the exorcism began. There, Anneliese revealed she believed there wasn't just one demon inside of her. There were many. Witnesses say that Anneliese would have multiple voices speaking through her at the same time, sometimes in different languages. They would even argue with each other. Here's a recording of these alleged demons speaking through Anneliese.
Ja, ich will auch für die anderen leiden, damit die nicht in die Hölle kommen. So. Aber dass das dann so schlimm ist und so grausam und so furchtbar, nee. Das tut mir leid, das ist so leicht zu sagen, aber wenn es dann wirklich schlimm wird.
So schlecht, mein Abend verwaltet. Ich hab meinen Mund erschlagen. Die Ruhe gibt nur nach oben. Ja, bei uns gibt's nur ja, und bei uns gibt's nie Ruhe, nie, in der Ewigkeit. Kapiert's? Die müssen in eigenen Seminaren auf. Oh, bald ist weil.
Father Alt and Father Renz realized it was going to take a lot longer than they thought, and they were right. There wasn't just one exorcism, there were 67, over a 10-month period. This process took a heavy toll on Anneliese's body and mind. Her parents tried to schedule doctor visits, but she refused. Eventually, they gave up. Anneliese started having visions of angels and the Virgin Mary. She said they spoke to her and gave her small escapes from the demons. From these visions, she believed her suffering was atoning for the sins of the modern world. After a while, Anneliese started refusing food altogether. She went through an exorcism every week, sometimes more than one, with a starving body and fractured mind. Eventually, Anneliese was unable to move on her own and weighed just 66 pounds. She told her parents not to be sad. She smiled and said she would save them all. Anneliese passed away on July 1st, 1976. She was just 23 years old. Her autopsy showed she died from extreme malnourishment and dehydration. It also found that Anneliese had broken her own knees by kneeling repeatedly. This led to criminal charges against Father Alt, Father Renz, and Joseph and Anna Michel. The prosecutor believed that Anneliese's death could have been prevented all the way up until her final week. During the trial, Father Alt and Father Renz presented evidence, including the audio you heard earlier, and argued they were legally performing a protected religious rite to help Anneliese. Joseph and Anna argued they were just trying to save their daughter by any means necessary. All of them were found guilty of negligent homicide and given suspended prison sentences. Years later, the church retracted their claim of Anneliese being possessed. They now require full medical and psychological examinations before an exorcism is granted. Joseph and Anna Michel built a small chapel in Anneliese's memory. They spent the rest of their lives missing and mourning their daughter. The guilt and self-doubt hung in their thoughts until the end. Anneliese's grave became a pilgrimage site for devout Catholics. People who visit say it brings them a sense of peace and calm. There's no silver lining to this story. Anneliese was a young girl with a kind heart, and she went through hell. Her life was short and painful. Some believe she was battling demons for her soul. Others believe she was battling illness for her mind. Whichever way you fall on that, I think we can all agree that she deserved better. If there's one small comfort we can take away from this, it's that Anneliese doesn't have to fight anymore. She's finally found some peace.